Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the e-learning program on tawarruq. In this module, you will learn about the concept of tawarruq, how does tawarruq work, the rules and conditions underlying a tawarruq transaction, the process of tawarruq, the application of tawarruq in Islamic covered cards. The concept of tawarruq. There are times when you're faced with a genuine need for cash. While you can buy a car through a murabaha transaction or lease a house through ijara, what would you do when all that you want is just cash? Tawarruq, or commodity murabaha, is a Sharia-compliant financing solution designed to help you with the liquidity you want. Let us look at one such example. Ayub is a sales executive with a company in a bustling Middle East city. These days, Ayub is very excited. He is getting married in 2 months. Excited as he is, Ayub is a little worried too. Well, we can't blame him for that, can we? Is it the stress of work? Aha, that's enough reason to worry about. Looks like Ayub is in trouble. His projected expenses for the wedding are way above his savings by 63,000 dirhams. Ayub decides that it is time he consulted Mr. Omar, the CSO of the Islamic Bank, about his predicament. Maybe Mr. Omar will have a solution. So what can I do for you, Mr. Ayub? Mr. Omar, I'm getting married shortly, and I think I might have to borrow some cash from the bank to help me meet the marriage expenses. Yes, of course. How much money do you think you may need to borrow from us? About 70,000 dirhams? Shouldn't be a problem. We will be able to give you this money through a tawarruq deal. Tawarruq? Could you please explain to me how this works? Yes, of course. How does tawarruq work? You know, Allah has permitted trading and prohibited riba. Thus, if you want an asset like a car or a television, I can sell them to you on credit. But here, your need is for financial liquidity, cash. So, the objective will be to raise cash by trading. That is, if you had something to sell, I would have bought it from you in cash, and thus your need for cash would have been met. But again, you do not have anything to sell, do you? No, I don't. Let's look at a hypothetical situation. Now, you want cash of 70,000 dirhams to help you meet your marriage-related expenses. Let's say you have 2 friends, A and B. Well, that's pretty simple. I'll buy the car from A on credit. I will pay you 70,000 dirhams later in installments. Okay. This is a murabaha transaction. And sell the car to B for 68,000 dirhams in cash. Yes, now you have the funds that you wanted. All you did was to trade, and so the transaction is in compliance with Sharia. You will have to bear some loss, but you will also have benefited by getting the money for your immediate use, which can be repaid in future. Tawarruq raises liquidity by way of permissible trading. It sounds so easy. Is this how tawarruq works? Yes, that was indeed a tawarruq transaction, but there are some rules that you will have to follow. Rules for a valid tawarruq. Rule number 1. Sale and repurchase is not permitted by Sharia. Let us look at our earlier transaction in a different way. You buy the car from A on credit. Then, instead of selling it to B, you sell the car back to A for cash. This is a case of sale and repurchase which is not permitted by Sharia. The correct transaction will be: you buy the car from A on credit and then sell it to B on cash payment. Rule number 2. There must not have been a prior arrangement between the three parties. Rule number 3. There must be an interval between each purchase and its subsequent sale. This is to expose the parties to price risk. Gains from the transaction should be a reward for risk borne. For Sharia compliance, it is necessary that actual purchase and sale should take place along with transfer of ownership and related risks. So as I said, I need about 70,000 dirhams. How do we go about it? The process of tawarruq. Let's take the earlier hypothetical example where you bought a car from your friend A on murabaha basis and sold it to your friend B for cash. What was the result of the transaction? On the one hand, I ended up with liquid funds, and on the other, I could pay the purchase price of the car in installments. Correct. But it's not always that you will have a friend who sells a commodity for credit and another friend who buys the same commodity from you by paying cash. Yes, I agree. That was a hypothetical situation. So, what really happens in a tawarruq transaction? Let me explain. Now, you would like to borrow 70,000 dirhams from the bank. The Islamic bank will buy a commodity, usually a metal like copper, from a trader at the London Metal Exchange for 70,000 dirhams on spot payment. Please note that it cannot be gold or silver, as the same are equivalent to money, which cannot be sold in this way. The bank will now sell this metal to you for 77,000 dirhams on a cost plus profit or murabaha basis. That is, cost price 70,000 dirhams plus disclosed profit of 7,000 dirhams. You are now indebted to the bank for 77,000 dirhams, which you will promise to repay in monthly installments over, say, 4 years. But you still haven't got the funds yet, have you? No, but now I own 70,000 dirhams worth of copper, and that's something I do not want. So I presume that I'll have to sell the copper to get the funds that I wanted. Yes, but we will do that for you. There will be an agency agreement between you and the bank. The bank, acting as an agent, will sell your copper to another trader at the London Metal Exchange for 70,000 dirhams on spot settlement. The cash proceeds from the sale will be credited to your account. So we have traded in metal. I have the liquidity that I wanted. You have your profit from the trade, and there was no instance of riba. Well said. Let's summarize these transactions. The bank buys copper from the LME trader A for 70,000 dirhams. The bank sells copper to Ayub for 77,000 dirhams. That's cost plus profit sale, which is murabaha. Ayub will pay the bank 77,000 dirhams in 48 installments. Ayub then sells copper to the LME trader B, the bank acting as Ayub's agent, for cash, 70,000 dirhams. And cash from the sale proceeds is credited to Ayub's account. While in transaction 3, the customer obtains the funds that he required. In transaction 2, the sale price deferred by the bank enables the customer to pay back the financing facility to the bank within an agreed term. Some banks use the principle of tawarruq in covered cards, don't they? I'll explain that concept. Islamic covered cards. Using the tawarruq mechanism, let us suppose that the Islamic bank, acting as your agent, is able to sell copper for 10,000 dirhams. Under the wadi'a principle, the bank is a safekeeper of the funds. Now, instead of crediting your operating account with the sale proceeds, the bank creates a guaranteed current deposit account for you for 10,000 dirhams. This will be your covered card limit. You can use the card for retail purchases and cash withdrawals just like a conventional credit card. Your transactions will be backed by the cash held in your wadi'a account. This mechanism is entirely in compliance with Sharia. The card should not be used for items disqualified by Sharia. However, experts are not in favor of open use of tawarruq. They allow its use only for corporates. Renowned scholar Dr. Ubaidullah of Islamic Development Bank Jeddah says about tawarruq, this is considered hiyal, or a legal ruse, since the individual concerned has no real intention of buying or selling the commodity. He engages in the purchase and sale transactions for realization of cash. Tawarruq addresses a genuine need of the people, the need for cash. And I hope I have cleared the air on the subject. Yes, of course, thank you very much. Tawarruq is an Islamic financing method used to provide customers with liquidity. Tawarruq is a means of generating cash by way of trading. The commodity is being traded only for the purpose of raising funds and not as an end in itself. It combines two separate sale and purchase transactions. There are 3 important rules to be followed to ensure that the tawarruq transaction is valid. Rule number 1. The commodity must be sold to a different person and not to the seller himself. Otherwise, it will be a case of sale and repurchase. There must not be a prior arrangement between the parties to a tawarruq transaction. Rule number 3. There must be a time period between each purchase and the subsequent sale. Tawarruq is also the basis for the issue of Islamic covered cards. Some scholars have reservations against tawarruq based on the fact that tawarruq creates new debts far larger than the cash received. You may now reinforce your learning by going through this topic in the illustrated textbook and check your comprehension of the subject by attempting the questions in the workbook. Our next module will introduce you to the concept of musharaka.